Morning, everybody. Welcome back for another Thursday morning practice. So when you're ready, go ahead and find your seat, some comfortable cross-legged position. Sit up as tall as you can. And as you continue settling in, just let your eyes close so that you can focus more awareness inward on your breath. And today, start with a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Now, sometimes a really deep breath feels great. Other times, when you're trying to cut through some anxiety, taking fewer breaths is a very useful technique. So today I'll ask you to not really deepen your breath at all. Instead, make your breath shallow. You don't have to alter it at all. Just let your breath be normal, as it typically is over the course of your day. And for the next few moments, as you continue breathing normally, just pay close attention to the space at the end of your exhales. Like an 8-ball dropping into the corner pocket of a pool table, just let your mind drop into that space. Now we're going to start slowing down your breath rate until we get down to around 9 breaths per minute. So for the next few moments, still paying attention to your breath, pause at the end of your next exhale and just stop breathing. Try to relax mentally and physically. Then a normal inhale, normal exhale, pause again. 3 more together. Breathe in, breathe out and pause. Try to relax mentally and physically. And then again, breathe in, breathe out and pause. Last one together. Inhale, exhale and pause for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in and continue the same pattern on your own. Hold your breath out for around 5 seconds at the end of every exhale. If you feel like you're starving for breath, make it 4 seconds instead. But every time you hold your breath, let your thoughts melt like a snowflake landing on a sunny sidewalk. Just let your mind rest in that space at the end of your breath. About 30 more seconds of this. Next time you hold your breath out, make it just a little longer. And then whenever you're ready, return to normal breathing patterns. As your body settles once again, just pay close attention to your breath. No breath retention at all. And then join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. Think of someone to dedicate today's practice to. Mentally, send your person some good energy. And when you're ready, open your eyes and we'll start out with a preliminary twist. So still in your cross-legged position, slide your right sitting bone back a little bit. I'm going to do my left so it looks like we're doing the same thing if you're facing me. Take your left hands to your right knee and place your other hand behind you on the floor and just give yourself a gentle twist. As you rotate, gaze straight backward over your shoulder behind. This time around, take some deeper breaths. Fill your lungs with your inhales. Empty your lungs with your exhales. That process helps you to twist deeper and take up any potential slack by rotating a bit further. If not, and you sort of feel blocked, that's absolutely okay as well. Sort of hang out as you are and keep breathing deeply. Now release the twist on that side. Slide your other sitting bone backwards so your hips are not squared to the front of your mat, whichever direction you're facing, and then take your right hand to your left knee, place your left hand behind you, and rotate everything around again, gazing backward over your shoulder as you twist. When you breathe in deeply, feel your lungs expanding outward like an opening umbrella. And as you exhale, feel the umbrella closing again, ribs dropping down and in toward your center. Send your inhales out horizontally into the sides of your ribs. Let them expand like the opening umbrella. And then close the umbrella with your exhales. Breathe out every drop of air and continue on like that. The cat-cow create position next. Go ahead and roll over to a 4-pointed kneeling position. Make sure your shoulders are directly above your wrists. The knee position isn't as important. I like to have mine a little behind my hips, but you might experiment to see what feels best. Now this time, just round your spine with your exhales and roll your tail under. Arch your spine in the other direction with your inhales. And then continue, guided by your breath. Use your exhales for the rounding. And your inhales for the arching. And as the rolling undulations of that posture start to wake up your belly muscles and your back muscles, use it to expand your breath as well. Gradually, systematically build up into some of the deepest breaths of your day. And bring your spinal column back to a somewhat more neutral position. Once you've done so, swing your right leg forward to the front of your mat so you're in a lunging posture. Slide your left leg a little further backwards. And this time around, just plant your hands on the floor inside of your foot. Let your hips drop down and forward to stretch your hamstrings and your hip flexors. If you want to go deeper, you're absolutely free to do so, of course. I'm still kind of getting warmed up though, so I'm going to keep my arms straight. You do the one that works best. Elbows down is another possibility. The most important thing is you just let your hips sink steadily down toward the earth beneath. Shift back to the cat-cow kriya position just as a transition. Swing your other leg all the way forward. Scoot your rear leg backwards. And then let your hips drop down and forward toward the front of the mat. As you do that, you're looking for the stretch in the hamstrings as well as your hip flexors. It's not the end of the world if your shoulders shrug up near your ears, but it's better if they don't. So slide your shoulders away from your ears. Stretch out to the top of your head, just like a turtle poking its head out of its shell. This time, swing back to the 4-pointed kneeling position. Let your hips drop all the way down to your heels for the child's pose. Walk your hands over to your left as far as they'll go. Just wiggle your fingers forward till you feel a big stretch between your ribs. At the same time as your hips settle toward your heels, you get a good opening in your quads. Now walk your hands off to whichever side you have not done. Keep wiggling your fingertips over to the side till you feel opening between your ribs another time. And then walk your hands forward to the front. Once you've done so, lift your hips off of your heels. Roll through your arms for the up dog. Your knees can remain on the ground if you wish, or they can raise straight up. For the next few moments, stretch back to your toes and lift upwards to your collarbones. And then lift your hips upwards into the air for the down dog stretch. And some pedaling for sure. The lunging posture warmed up your hamstrings before, but it's also good to get into your calves. Even now, slow deep breaths. Press both heels a bit closer to the floor beneath you there. Drive out your hands and try to create as much length in your shoulders as you're able to. Shake your head yes a couple times to loosen up your neck. And then take a look forward. Step, walk, or jump upwards toward the front of your mat. Come all the way up to your fingertips. Fold forward from there. Now use your inhale to sweep all the way up to standing. Straight spine and straight legs as you rise. Join your hands at your chest with your exhale. And bend your legs. Inhale both arms all the way up. And then forward fold with your exhale. Lift to your fingers on the inhale. Chaturanga push up with your exhale. Up dog with an inhale. Down dog with an exhale. Warrior one. Right foot forward, left heel down. Use an inhale to sweep your arms up. Chaturanga push up with your exhale. Up dog with the inhale. Down dog with your exhale. Left foot forward. Inhale your arms up for warrior one. Chaturanga push up with your exhale. Up dog on the inhale. Downward facing dog with your exhale. Rest in the pose, relax a little bit. And return to deepening your breath. And then another set of yoga jumping jacks. Step or jump up to the front of your mat. Come up to your fingers once you have. Then fold again with your exhale. Use your inhale to sweep up to the chair, legs bent and both arms up. Forward fold as you breathe out. Lift to your fingers on the inhale. Chaturanga push up with your exhale. Up dog with the inhale. Down dog with your exhale. Right foot forward, inhale upwards to warrior one. Chaturanga, exhale. Up dog, inhale. Down dog, exhale. Left foot forward, inhale both arms up. Chaturanga, exhale. The up dog with an inhale. Down dog to rest again. Never ceases to be restful. You can always do cat-cows instead. Fluid, deep breath. All right, take a look forward and then step or jump up to your thumbs. Come up to the tips of your fingers. Forward fold as you exhale. And then bend your legs and use an inhale to sweep your arms up. Sink just a little deeper into your chair. Take your arms backward like airplane wings and lean forward till your torso gets nearer parallel to the ground. Now use an inhale to sweep your arms up for the chair. Arms back with an exhale. Torso parallel to the floor. Then inhale your arms up. Exhale back. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale back. Inhale your arms up for the chair. Then join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. Come up to the tiptoes of your right foot and draw your right heel toward your posterior. And bend your standing leg just a little bit more, and just for the next few moments, balance there. Now lean forward just a bit more. Step your rear foot back. Use an inhale to come up to a full crescent lunge. This time, drop your left hip down toward the ground, deepen the edge of the stretch. Scoot your rear foot back a little bit more if necessary. And then strongly press back through your heel to stretch your rearmost leg. For the next few moments, just let your bones support your body's weight. And lean forward over your leg and plant your hands. Step back through a vinyasa. After you lower through the push-up, the up dog. And then back to the down dog again. With your hands on the floor, come up to the tips of your toes. Now, as your legs rest, move your hips and heels right. Press out to your left hand more, and try to touch your heels to the floor to stretch your side again. Use an inhale to sweep your hips up. Take them over for the same posture on the other side. And press down through your right hand so you're really squishing the mat underneath it. Sweep your hips all the way back up, and then we'll loop back to where you've been. Step or jump up to the front of your mat. Come up to your fingers with your inhale. Forward fold with your exhale. With your legs bent, use an inhale to sweep your arms up. And then back near your sides with your exhale. Torso parallel-ish to the floor. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms back. Huge breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, arms up. Join your hands together in a prayer. If you'd like to modify, come up to the tiptoes of your left foot. And then if you want to go further, lift your left heel completely off of the floor. With both legs bent, lean forward and sink substantially into your standing leg for now. Now, slowly and gradually float your rear foot backwards and come up to the lunging posture with an inhale. Drop your right hip crease straight down toward the floor. Press back through your rearmost heel and just keep on breathing deeply as you hold. And today's transition is a slight bit different. Plant your hands inside of the foot. Walk your hands across the ground to face the long edge of your mat. Once you've done so, turn your toes out. Bend your legs substantially. We're going to set up for the horse stance vinyasa. So round your spine and let your head hang nearer the floor. Lifting your hands off the ground, crisscross your arms near the earth. And bend your legs a slight bit more. Then use an inhale to stand up. Straighten your legs, squeeze your posterior, reach your arms up, and then bend and cross as you exhale. Inhale to rise up. Exhale for the bends. Inhale up. Exhale, bend. Inhale all the way up to the top. This time, with legs straight, turn your big toes in. Take your right hand to the edge of your leg. I'll do my left. Reach up through your extended arm. And from that position there, just bend your torso all the way over to the side. Look straight down toward your foot and keep breathing as you stretch. Top of the pelvis as level as possible if you can. And use an inhale to come all the way back up. Switch to whichever side has not been done. And try to keep both sides of your pelvis at equal height. Slow breath. And use an inhale to come back up. Turn your toes out and bend your legs with an exhale. This time around, take your hands to your knees and press your knees apart. Rotate your torso to your right and just twist your spine from the base to the top. A little more rotation, just like you're twisting the handle of a screwdriver. Rotate your spine around. And use an inhale to square with the floor. Switch it over for the same posture on the other side and keep breathing deep again. This time around, level your chest with the earth and plant your fingertips on the ground. You can widen your feet if necessary, but for the moment, walk your hands over to your left. Straighten your right leg as much as you can, and if you're comfortable with it, let your hips sink closer to the ground to stretch your inner thigh muscles out. Having set that stance, your hips can either be high or a little bit lower. Reach your right arm out to the side and up. Just gaze straight upwards toward your thumb. Now take your hands down to the ground, lift your hips all the way up in the air. Walk your hands over for the same posture on side B. Those can definitely be intense, so if it's too much stretch here, keep your hips higher. Otherwise, lower them down toward the floor till you find the stretch that you need. Walk your hands at the diagonal so your shoulder is sort of placed inside of your knee. If you want to go further, reach your left arm all the way up as you twist. Now for the moment, plant your hands on the floor near your bent leg. Rotate that foot around so the toes point toward the narrow side of your mat. Spin your back heel up in the air and then straighten your right leg as much as possible. Lift upward through your fingertips for the next few moments. Slide your shoulders away from yours toward your belt. And if you're getting enough stretch in your hamstring, feel free to stay there just like I. Otherwise, feel free to fold forward. Curl your chin to your chest and potentially touch your forehead to your knee. Press down to the big toe portion of your foot. And then bend that leg that you just stretched. Walk your hands across the floor toward the long edge of your mat. Keep walking them all the way around to the front. Now with your rear heel turned up, it's easier to square your hips. So today, just try to spin your heel up and back. Elongate your front leg as much as you're able to. Lift your chest away from your thighs. And keep breathing into that. This next one's going to take some practice. It's called Kapada Kandunyasana. I'm going to switch my body's angle so it's easier for you to see, and we'll go through it together. So bend your legs substantially and take your back knee all the way down to the floor. I'll sort of rotate here at an angle. Now, if your left leg is not forward, take it there. Now, when you're ready, plant your hands on the floor inside of your foot. This is one potential modification. You can hold there if you wish. Otherwise, you're going to scoot your left foot over to the side and tilt your knee in toward your center line so you can rest it on the shelf of your uppermost arm. Now, the next part of it is to lower your chest down nearer the floor. Go there if you can, and then kick your foot out to the side to lift your foot completely off of the floor. And if you want to go further, lift your back knee up. If you want to go further still, put your chin on the floor, press through your hands, lift up, and then maybe lift your chin as well. And then take your foot all the way back down. We don't need a pretty exit today, so just go ahead and come back to the cat-cow kriya position. Roll through a few of those. Just give your chest and shoulders a few moments to rest. And then the same one on the other side. So step your right foot forward or whichever leg has not been done. Now, when you plant your hands on the floor, you still want your hands to be in a push-up position, albeit sometimes a wider push-up. Scoot your right foot over to the edge. That will enable you to drop your knee towards your center line so you can rest it on your arm. You can definitely stay there if you want. You're still building chest strength. If you want to go further, bend your elbows. As soon as your chest lowers down, try kicking your foot out to the side while keeping your leg balanced on the shelf of your elbow. Back knee up. And to lift your foot, you have to slide forward, maybe put your chin on the floor and take your back leg into the air. Then possibly lift your chin and hold. Both feet down. Press all the way up. And then when you're ready, center with the mid-front of your mat. Either sit vertically on your heels or fold forward for the child's pose. And for the next few moments, just rest and relax your mind and body. And return to those deep breaths to focus. And if at all possible, make your exhales just a little longer. If you're seated upright on your heels, fold forward for a momentary child's pose. And roll through your arms for the up dog. Lift your hips again for the down dog. Now step your right foot all the way forward. Take your back knee down to the floor. Sweep your arms outwards and upwards. This time press your arms back and take a back bend. As you back bend, let your hips sink closer to the ground. Raise up to the base of your ribs as you continue to press your arms back. Lean forward, plant your hands on the ground. Step back to the high push-up position. Lower through chaturanga. Up dog next. The down dog with your exhale. Step your left foot forward. Take your back knee to the earth. And use an inhale to sweep your arms up. Drop your hips down, down, down till they drop no further. Press your arms back to the wall behind you. And in this one, do try to lift up to the base of your ribs. Lean all the way forward, plant your hands on the floor. Step back to the high push-up position. Lower down to your belly. And with your hands still placed in a push-up position. Use your next inhale to lift your hands and your chest into your legs. Pause there for just a few moments. Make sure your hands are lifted. Now use an exhale to come down for just a moment. Inhale, raise up. Exhale. Inhale, 8. Exhale. Inhale, 7. Exhale. Inhale, 6. Exhale. Inhale, 5. Halfway there. Exhale. Inhale, 4. Exhale. Inhale, 3. Exhale. Inhale, 2. Exhale. Inhale, 1. Pause at the top. Reach your arms out to the sides in a T-like shape. Just try to lift your hands higher as well as your legs. All right, for now, come all the way down to the floor. Place your left hand in a push-up position. Keep your right arm extended out to the side, parallel to the front of your mat. And turn your right palm to face up to protect your elbow. Roll onto the right-hand side of your body. Now, if you want to go further, bend your left leg, touch your toes to the floor behind you. Or alternatively, if it feels okay, place one foot next to the other and swivel both knees up to face the ceiling to deepen the twists. Primarily, this one, of course, opens your shoulder. Roll all the way back down to the ground. Now, the most important thing with your left arm is that it's roughly parallel to the front of the room that you're in. So find that and then turn your palm to face up. Roll onto that left-hand side of your body. That might be enough stretch. If so, stay there. Otherwise, tap your right toes or heel to the floor behind you. If you're able to take your feet together, swivel your knees up toward the ceiling, go for that, and keep breathing. Roll yourself all the way back down to your belly. Once you've done so, prop yourself up on your elbows so you look like a sphinx. Now you want to lengthen your back in this one. So pull backward with your elbows to drag your chest forward. If you prefer the cobra pose, work towards straighter arms. Shoulders down, chin up. And if that bothers your back in any way, shape, or form, do this one with elbows down. Stretch back through your toes so your legs are very active. And finish the roll all the way back down to the floor. Curl your toes under and back. Use your knees if it helps. And then press from the low push up to the high, all the way up to the top. Drop your knees to the floor. Walk your hands back just a little bit so that your shoulders rest right above your wrists. Now to thread the needle, reach your right arm out. Sweep your right arm across the center line. You can stay up there if you like. Otherwise, take your shoulder and your head to the ground. And just let gravity twist you out. And press down to come all the way back up. Cross your other arm across the center line to take your shoulder down to the floor. If you're unable to get your shoulder to the floor, it's okay to stay higher, of course. Just don't want to rotate your spine. And now press all the way back up. Today's pinnacle back bend, we're going to practice the tiger's pose. Now the balance can be a little sketchy in this one, so if you've not done it before, curl your toes under and back. I usually like to do it like that, even though I've done it many times. Now for the moment, keep your eyes locked on something. Lift your right leg straight upwards into the air, and your left arm out to the side. Now if you're unable to reach the foot, that's your position. Otherwise, swivel your leg across your midline, reach back and try to grab that foot. Once you've got it, slide your right shoulder away from your ear. Press your foot straight upward into the hands. As your foot presses up, gaze forward at the front of the room that you're in. Lots and lots of breath. Then let go of the foot. Take the knee all the way back down to the earth. Once you've done so, with toes curled under and back, lift your left leg all the way up. Right arm reaches all the way out to the side. Now you might be able to just reach back to grab your foot, and I have troubles with that. So I usually take my foot across the midline to reach back for the clasp. Once you've done that, press your foot straight up in the hand to the ceiling. Try to keep your shoulders sliding away from your ears, and your foot pressing high as you hold. Look forward if possible, or down, of course. And come all the way back down to the earth beneath. For the moment, crisscross your legs, roll backward over your feet to a seated position, and then extend both legs all the way forward to the front. It's always important to restabilize your core body after doing some back bends. So today we'll use the boat for that. Bend your legs initially. Reach around to grab the backs of your knees. Now with your torso really straight, lean back and come up to your tiptoes. If you you want to go further, you can lift your feet off of the floor. And if you want to go further still, you can extend your legs outwards and upwards. If that's going pretty well, reach your arms forward and just sort of lift up through the walls of your chest as you hover. Try to tuck your ribs down in the front. Maintain the length of your spine from the base to the top. A few more breaths as you hold there. And then for the moment, come all the way back down. Cross your legs, forward fold, and take your elbows closer to the ground. All right, 2 of 3. Rock your way back. Remember the options. You can grab the backs of your knees and tap your toes. You can lift your feet. You can straighten your legs, and you can let go if you want. Make your arms into a beach ball shape. Rotate your torso off to your right, and then off to your left. And if having the legs straight is too much, you feel free to bend your knees just a little bit like me. Lots and lots of breath. Try to squeeze your knees. Just about there. And then cross your legs. Fold forward another time and take your elbows nearer to the ground. Just let your body relax as you hold. Now for this next one, we're going to float another type of boat. So come all the way up. This time around, slide your legs forward to the front of your mat. And just lay down on the ground. Bend your legs. Make your arms into a beach ball shape with your fingers near your knees. Lift your feet off the floor. Your legs bent to 90 degrees. And then belly crunch up to the front. If you want to make it harder, reach your arms overhead and back. With them still in the beach ball shape, you also have the option of straightening your legs and lowering your heels closer to the ground. Rock from right side to left side like a kayak, caught in little bitty waves in a river. Try to keep your upper back grounded, your feet elevated, and just keep rocking. All right, recline back down there on the ground. And give your knees a squeeze to your chest. Rock up to a full seated position. Now I'm going to spin around here to face the camera to make it easier for you to see. Cross your right leg in front of left in a simple cross-legged stance. Now if the next position isn't possible for you, hold that. Otherwise, cross your right ankle over your left leg. It's also helpful to sort of scoot your other leg toward your midline. And we're twisting toward the uppermost leg. So spin your belly around your leg. If you'd like to modify, hug your knee into the chest and just continue twisting open to the right. If you want to go beyond the modification, hook your elbow over the leg, put your other hand on the floor behind you, and just twist your spine. Release the twist, and we'll take the same on the other side. Cross your left leg in front of the right. It's a fine and fantastic twist. If you want a slightly deeper variation, hook your leg over. Scoot that bottom leg towards your midline. And then give your leg a bear hug squeeze with your right arm. Pull it in toward your chest. Rotate sideways. If you're going for the option, you want to spin your belly around your leg, reach all the way across with your elbow. Use your arm to leverage a little more twist. Release that one and slide both legs all the way forward to the front. Now this is an opener for your hips and some of your spinal muscles. Draw your right knee toward your midline. Now once your foot is as close to your pelvis as you can get it, Bend your left leg and put your foot flat on the floor. And then let your knee drop out to the side. Come onto the edge of your foot so your left toes are turned outward. Your left foot is about 2.5, 3 feet ahead of your hips, and the right foot is drawn all the way in. Now for the first variation on this one, walk your hands further forward, and as you hinge over your legs to fold, you'll naturally start to feel some opening in your hip. And if you want to go a slight bit deeper, try to hook your left elbow over the arch of your foot. Join your hands together in a prayer, and gently rotate your torso open to the right. In the twisting variation release, consider taking your elbows down to the floor and maybe your forehead to your foot. Maybe not. It's totally okay to stay higher. And use an inhale to sit all the way back up. Place your right heel right next to the left heel. Draw your left foot toward your inner thigh. And try to keep your ankle and the right leg kind of stiff by curling your toes back. Initially, walk your hands forward. Try to keep your spine relatively straight as you hinge and then fold. Now, on many days, that position you're holding is definitely enough stretch. Now, if you feel that you could easily hook your right elbow over the arch, you should try that, but don't force. Join your hands together in a prayer, and then just slowly rotate your torso off to the left-hand side. If you're in that twist, release it. Consider taking your elbows closer to the floor and your forehead closer to your foot below. Now use your next inhale to sit up. Once you've done so, plant your hands on the floor behind you with your fingers facing forward. Belly up tabletop to stretch your chest. Squeeze your shoulders back in together. From there, slide forward with your knees to lift your hips at least a little. If you want to go further, slide your knees further ahead. Elevate your hips a bit higher and either gaze forward, upward, or back. And let your hips drop all the way back down to the floor. Straighten your legs. Reach both arms directly ahead. Roll all the way down your back to physically lay down on the ground. And then once you're laying there, reach both of your arms completely out to your sides. And draw your knees toward your chest. Drop your knees to the right, and then rotate your gaze to the left. Let your breath relax and just let gravity take over the stretch. And sweep your knees all the way back up. And drop your knees over for the same posture on the other side. And whenever you're ready, find your way to either a seated meditation posture or the corpse pose if that's your preference. So make any final adjustments you need to let your body become comfortable, relaxed, and still. So once I was sitting on my grandfather's kitchen table, he and I were having some coffee, and we were just talking about the overall trajectory of his life. I mentioned the World War, which he served in, as well as the Great Depression. I had some questions about those things. And he looked at me and said, David, those are really tough times. And then he shared stories about some of the things that he experienced. He shared stories about how he was stationed at an aircraft base in England right before D-Day, and he was actually unaware of the fact that the soldiers were going to be sent to fight. And so he woke up in the morning to find the entire airbase cleared of all the airplanes. It was a really big shock to him, and when they came back, of course, the airplanes, many of them were absolutely devastated. And that was a challenging thing to see and get through. Now, later on down the road, after he came back home, the Great Depression, of course, ensued, and he was a rancher in Montana. He had a small amount of property in which he raised cows and all sorts of other things. And at some point, the markets dried up, and he actually had to get rid of the ranch. He had to move off to pursue work in other places. So that was, of course, a really tough thing as well. Afterward, he went on to tell me all sorts of stories about how the resilience he built during those times helped to inform his future decisions. And that actually went pretty well for him. At some point, he recovered. He went on to become a dairy manager at a really large ranch, and he served there until his retirement. I think when I was having that conversation with him, I realized a couple of different things. First and foremost, I realized that even the most challenging and devastating events are recoverable. We had a really tough time space in the world, South Central Montana, where it wasn't really easy to pick oneself up and get started again after things really crashed down. There aren't major cities out there, and at the time there wasn't really a lot of infrastructure, so I think it was a major challenge to rebuild. But even so, over time, he was able to recover, and he was able to rebuild. When I was sitting there at that dining room table with him, he was not a rich man by any stretch of the imagination. But even so, I think he had actually accomplished and accumulated everything he needed to have a happy retirement. Now, the other thing that I realized is at the center, those events that he experienced never really seemed to occupy the center stage of his life. Of course, while they were going down, World War II is the biggest thing ever that he was experiencing. Later on down the road, I'm sure the Depression was the only thing he thought about. But those things were temporal in nature. They passed pretty quickly, and afterward, he had large stretches of life where he was able to enjoy and focus on other things. Now, the final thing that I realized during my discussions with my grandfather is that we actually have time. When I was talking to him, he mentioned that at the time he was born, the median life expectancy for a man in the US was about 54 years of age. Now, I was born in 1977, and by that point, things had changed. Our life expectancy at present is around 70 some odd years of age. Now, for me, that was kind of inspiring because I realized that after my grandfather came back as a young man, after he lost pretty much everything in the Depression, statistically speaking, he didn't have a lot of time to actually make up for his losses. We, all of us, in contrast, I think have more time than those previous generations, and that's a really good thing. God willing, and should things go well, as we start to build our recovery and we start to dig out of the hole that the pandemic has set, I think that we most likely have decades to form new memories, to accumulate new things, and to rebuild in the ways that we need to rebuild. So these days, I think on days when I get frustrated, I try to reflect on all those things, and sometimes that gives me hope for the future. Well, I think as things continue on, if we continue to rebuild over the time that we have left, hopefully someday down the road, we'll be one day sitting at the dinner table and talking to a grandchild with no mask whatsoever, reflecting on the challenges and the insights from this age, and they too will find it an interesting story to inspire them in their future endeavors. That, of course, remains to be seen. Now, for now, I think in challenging times, it's always good to do some meditation. And so if you will, redirect all of your awareness to your eyes. Let your breathing patterns be normal today. And if you're able, visualize little pinpoints of light in your eyes, like the light from stars. If your mind wanders from that light, redirect. And if imagining light there is kind of tough, it's all right. Focus on the sensation in your eyes instead. Redirect focus to your ears. Just like you were watching an important movie, stay focused on your ears. And try to disregard the chattering part of your mind, the labels and judges and thinks about the movies that you watch. It's okay for it to be chattering, just try not to pay attention. Shift your focus to your nose. Sometimes your thoughts are kind of disruptive, like an annoying person texting next to you in a movie theater. In those moments, it's a bit counterintuitive, but if you focus harder, sometimes it makes the mind wander more. So if your thoughts are really distracting, let your concentration on your nostrils be really relaxed and almost nonchalant, like a butterfly resting on a flower. Sometimes that lighter focus will help you stay centered. And then shift again, right cheek and left cheek. Pinpoints of light or sensation that you feel in your cheeks. Upper lip and lower lip. Upper teeth and lower teeth. The tip of your tongue. Middle of your throat. Tips of your shoulders. Elbows. Wrists. Palms of your hands. Tips of your fingers. Shift awareness to your hips. Kneecaps. Ankles. The bottoms of your feet. Tips of your toes. Right and left side of the body. Back of the body. Navel. Center chest. Tips of your shoulders. Back of the neck. And then send awareness from your heart to the palms of your hands. From your heart to the bottoms of your feet. And from your heart to the base of the spine, and again upward to the top of your head. So leading the meditation, I had disruptive thoughts pop into my brain as well. And one thought that I had is that I may have inverted the order of the Great Depression and World War II. Even so, the lessons of that particular era stand. Many people of that generation proved that it's absolutely possible to live through two cataclysmic life events and to recover. The second thing is, I've learned from many people of that generation, is that those particular elements and those particular life's experiences stood at the forefront of the stage for a while. They weren't like that forever. At some point, they became a memory. And the third thing to keep in mind is that we absolutely have time, God willing. And if we do have to rebuild in some ways, it doesn't all have to be done today. So as you continue on with your day today, if you do have to rebuild in some way, if you have to reorganize your life, just remember small steps taken over time are the key to the kingdom. If you do that over and over again, hopefully they'll get you to where you need to go. Now for the next few moments, if you will, just redirect all of your awareness to the tip of your nose. And for the next few moments, pay close attention to your breath. If your mind wanders off, notice and then redirect. If your mind has wandered from your breath, redirect to finish on a strong note. Then let your mind relax. Whenever you feel ready, then let yourself roll over to one side. With both your eyes closed, come back to a seated and cross-legged posture of some type. And then join your hands together in a prayer at your chest. Remember the person you dedicated today's practice to. To pray for or wish for their happiness and their well-being. Take a moment to be grateful for another day. If you wish, repeat after me. May all sentient beings everywhere experience peace.